Spider-Man Miles Morales takes every good thing his predecessor accomplished and does it better, pulling it off with more style, personality, and intimacy. Let's talk about it. Miles Morales is a phenomenal game. It improves on already great execution of concepts and scratches the Spider-Man itch that all superhero fans have. While it's nothing drastically different from its predecessor, it feels more fun, focused, refined, and engaging. It has so much style, character, and flair, and it's such a privilege to play. Insomniac Games have outdone themselves with this one, honestly. The swinging, the combat, the exploration, and the design of the world, everything in this game is familiar enough for you to be comfortable, yet unique enough to not feel boring and old. We have to keep in mind that this is a spin-off sequel, so it retains much of its father's formula. The core gameplay loop is the same. Go here, fight some bad guys, hack some stuff, web swing away. However, the execution of these things is what is done well, and fighting the bad guys feels so fun. Miles' new Venom powers make combat feel more fresh and fluid. The Venom jump in particular makes encounters so much more satisfying. You get to use these powers when your Venom bars fill up, and they fill up pretty fast through combat, so you can use them often while fighting. Integrating these attacks into the normal melee combat feels so rewarding. The encounters feel so fucking fun. It's familiar, but the additions to the powers and gadgets keep it fresh enough to still say super fun. I just can't stop gushing over how fun this game is. There's even a little nod by the devs themselves to how good the combat is. When you finish all combat, stealth, and traversal challenges, you're given a piece of dialogue in which Miles mentions the clean combat design of the game. Okay, Insomniac, we see you. I also really enjoy the stealth in this game, way more than I did in the last one. In Miles Morales, stealth feels like a much more viable option for combat. It's really well integrated into the game compared to the last one, because in the last game stealth was possible, but it was just kind of there. It didn't really feel that necessary to me, personally. This game uses stealth much more and feels better designed, especially using Miles' camo ability. The camo ability lets you drop right back into stealth whenever you want. A lot of combat environments, such as hideouts, lairs, and such, are really well designed for stealthy approaches. It feels more like the stealth sections in the Arkham games, with interactive machinery that can be activated using your spider gadgets. I did have some issues, as sometimes when I would try to take someone down it glitched and kicked me out of stealth, but that's just what happens when a video game releases. The boss fights also feel really good. Each one feels individual and enjoyable. Similar to the last game's boss fights, the final boss for me is almost as fun and emotional as fighting the final boss of the last game. Every single combat encounter is supported by stellar sound design. The punches and kicks have weight behind them. The electric hiss of the venom coursing through your enemies is so satisfying to hear. The crunch of a takedown makes you feel so badass, and every thwip of the web makes you feel like Spider-Man. Every sound is designed perfectly. And as for the soundtrack, well, you're hearing it in the back right now. It fits Miles' aesthetic and personality completely. The previous game's soundtrack, as phenomenal as it was typically superhero-y. Epic orchestral pieces accompanying you swinging through the city. However, Miles' music integrates many hip-hop elements into its orchestral pieces, creating a beautiful blend of sounds that feels extremely distinctive, perfectly portraying Miles' identity. Miles himself creates hip-hop music, inspired by his father and uncle, and flying around New York's open world with a sick drum beat as your backing track feels so phenomenal. And speaking of the open world, even exploring the open world feels less tedious than it did in the last game. This is probably due to how this game is on a much smaller scale. This version of New York feels more condensed and tightly packed. There are less things to do compared to the previous game, but they're more interesting and less of a chore. Peter's New York was amazing in its own right, but after a while it got a little bit This feels like a more focused open world experience. The crimes are tracked through a mobile app in-game, and doing it this way feels more reliable as you can pick what crimes you need to do. This helps keep things more organized and also helps for trophy collectors because you can choose what to do to complete bonus objectives, and I already have the platinum, so it's pretty dope that this is an option now. And while swinging through the city, Miles' swinging animations give the game such personality. The subtle animation changes make Miles feel like his own version of Spider-Man, which fits the tagline of the game, which is be yourself. His swinging is much more chaotic and wild and less refined than Peter's is. The animations are so sleek and flow so well into one another. The web swinging feels even better than the original game, and the original game nailed it. Miles has so much more personality to his moves. He's a still learning Spider-Man, and his wildness is shown so well through all of his movements. He flails, but he flails with style. It really makes you feel like Spider-Man. It honestly genuinely feels like you're controlling a different character instead of just another Spider-Man game with the same shit. This lack of repetition and reused animations is great. Of course, some animations are reused, but pointing that out just feels nitpicky. New York in the snow is a nice change from the last game. As I mentioned before, still the same map, but the little differences all create a really good new feeling. Now this is somewhat of a cliche, but it feels more like a truly friendly neighborhood Spider-Man story as compared to the scale of the last game. This is understandable because this game is a spin-off and is honestly a good thing rather than bad. The story feels more dedicated and concentrated. It's set mainly in Harlem, as that's where Miles has just recently moved, and his mother is running for mayor. His mom is campaigning against an energy conglomerate known as Roxxon Energy, and a gang known as the Underground show up to stir chaos and fight against Roxxon. This sets off the chain of events in the game and starts the story of Miles. The pacing of the story is very quick, and it might put some people off. It might be too fast, but I feel that it fits. The 10-hour experience is effective, and besides being a good story, it's a good Spider-Man story. It stays true to a Spider-Man story's core messages and themes and delivers a good arc. It's a little bit predictable at times, and that's what is expected from a superhero story. It was still a blast to play through, although I did have some minor issues with some events that happened, as I felt they were too convenient for Miles. And somehow Miles' friend, Ganke, is 17, but knows how to hack into high security government facilities from a laptop in his apartment. I wish I could do that, dude. I'd be making serious bank. Please don't arrest me. Otherwise, the characters hold up well. They're consistently written and add a lot to the story. They're fun characters to interact with and see grow with Miles. I really like the story. I am broke, and there are also no PS5s yet where I live, so I played the game on PS4, and it played pretty damn well. While it's noticeable that the game was designed for next gen, through some gameplay sequences as well as the abundance of fast travel points, the game ran pretty smoothly on the PS4 Pro that I use. I encountered a few audio glitches as well as some visual glitches in which the city looks like Mr. Negative after leaving a Roxxon base, but it was nothing absurdly game-breaking or immersion-breaking. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Spider-Man Miles Morales holds up pretty well against his predecessor, sometimes beating it entirely. It features more character, charisma, and personality, taking everything good about the first game and building upon it. I give this game an 8.7 out of 10. That's all I have to say for this video. I'm still learning this YouTube stuff, so if I ramble a bit, forgive me. Trying to be as polished as possible. Thank you to my editor, Sia, for reviewing my scripts. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Tell me what you loved most about this game in the comments below. I will be releasing more content more often, focused mainly on video games, movies, and TV shows. If you'd like to keep up with me, my socials are linked below, or you could join my Discord server to make everything easier. Consider subscribing if you're new, and click the notification bell so that you never miss my uploads. Thank you for stopping by, don't forget to look for the light, and goodbye for now.